So the psychos over at Fox News are pissed off at Biden, not for arming, funding, enabling a wholesale ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza. No, they're mad at him because every now and then he says some things like, hey, war crimes are bad. Hey, don't kill civilians or humanitarian workers. This is why they get mad at him. This is why they yell and scream. So here we have the perfect case in point. Mark Levin, who's probably one of the single most annoying political commentators in the world. He's got that nasally Ted Cruz-like voice, and he thinks he's an intellectual, but he's just really pissed off all the time and dead wrong. He's going to do this long diatribe against Biden, and you'll see the core of his argument, and it is not pretty.
What is society about? It's good versus evil, isn't it? Forces of good, forces of evil, constantly clashing.
You know, I'm torn on that question. Is it good versus evil? I think that's kind of a simplistic notion of reality. But to the extent what he's saying is true, it's good versus evil in the exact opposite way he thinks it is. The ones he thinks are good are evil. The one that he thinks are evil are good. But anyway, I digress. Let's keep going.
And who's going to win? This election is about good versus evil. And I'm going to make the case.
The election is about evil versus more evil. Like that's what it's about.
Just part of it. That electing Joe Biden is electing evil. Evil. Not just a radical leftist, not just a buffoon, not just Obama staffers, but evil. And we're going to start with...
It says everything about Mark Levin that he thinks it's fair to call Biden a radical leftist. Like, by no definition of leftism is he a radical leftist. He's not even a leftist. Like, what are we talking about? He's like a center-right neoliberal status quo defender with minor tweaks. That's kind of wordy, but I think you get the point.
Obviously, this week, as you're well aware, as the whole world is aware, as Biden and Blinken and the rest have made aware, the Israelis, while defending themselves against an unprovoked terrorist horrendous attack, has been fighting like hell for 6 months in its longest war in history. And the other day, they accidentally took out a convoy of trucks, 7 trucks, which had civilians.
Accidentally, Mark says. They accidentally did it. They accidentally bombed the vehicles that had the giant World Central Kitchen logo on the top after the World Central Kitchen had given the IDF exactly where they were going to go and at what time they were going to go there. They accidentally bombed them. I can't take guys like this seriously because he either knows that's a lie or he's the biggest fucking idiot on the planet.
Civilians who were bringing food and medicine into Gaza. And Joe Biden, Anthony Blinken, and this guy Kirby, they immediately went to the microphones. I think, in fact, Blinken was in Europe for a NATO meeting, trashing Israel.
Yeah, why would you trash Israel after they massacred humanitarian aid workers on purpose? Why would you do that? You're supposed to praise Israel after they do war crimes. When they do a war crime, you go, hooray, Israel, yay, more war crimes.
Something that they didn't mean to happen, and they apologized for and independently investigating. Biden said in part...
Well, that settles it. They apologized after they killed 7 aid workers. They apologized after killing 15,000 children. They apologized after killing 36,000 innocent people. No harm, no foul. We're good.
I'm outraged and heartbroken by the deaths of 7 humanitarian workers from World Central Kitchen, including 1 American in Gaza yesterday. They were providing food to hungry civilians in the middle of a war. They were brave and selfless. The deaths are a tragedy. He goes on later. Even more tragically, this is not a standalone incident. This conflict has been one of the worst in recent memory in terms of how many aid workers have been killed. This is a major reason why distributing humanitarian aid in Gaza has been so difficult, because Israel has not done enough to protect aid workers trying to deliver desperately needed help to civilians. Incidents like yesterday simply should not happen. Israel has also not done enough to protect civilians. The United States has repeatedly urged Israel to deconflict their military operations against Hamas with humanitarian operations in order to avoid civilian casualties. The United States will continue to do all we can to deliver humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians in Gaza through all available means. I will continue to press Israel to do more to facilitate that aid, and we're pushing hard for an immediate ceasefire as part of a hostage deal. I have a team in Cairo working on this right now. This is full of evil. Full of evil.
It's full of evil. You know what, Mark? It is full of evil, but not in the way you think. It's full of evil because those are a bunch of empty words, and he's not going to cut off the money, and he's not going to cut off the weapons, and he's not going to sanction Israel, and he's not going to bring up Netanyahu on war crimes charges. That's why it's evil. It's not evil because he's too tough on Israel. He's being too mean to the war criminals. God, I hate these people so much. I told you guys, with this, what has happened in Gaza, what that has shown me is that you don't have to scratch too deep beneath the surface for some people to come out and be like, I'm basically a Nazi. I'm basically a Nazi. I love war crimes. I'm okay with killing civilians. I'll lie and say it's not happening, or I'll defend it. But I'm the Nazi guy. That's me. That's what this has shown me.
He decoupled the release of the hostage from the ceasefire in the UN resolution, in which he directed his UN ambassador to vote present or to abstain. So that's a lie, number one. Number two,
what Mark is not going to tell you is that this so-called ceasefire that Israel's demanding lasts for 6 weeks. So it's, hey, give up all the hostages, and then we're going to go right back to genociding you in 6 weeks. Why would they agree to that? Why would anybody agree to that? Why would they sign their own death warrant for a temporary pause? He doesn't tell you that, does he?
Country in Gaza that is ensuring or trying to the delivery of food and medicine to Gaza civilians is Israel. Not Egypt.
They've blocked 70% of the aid, you fucking liar. They've blocked 70% of the aid. And Israel's being so humanitarian to the people they're massacring.
Not the United States, not Jordan, not Iran, Israel. And I hate to tell Biden this, the IDF is not the Peace Corps. You want to send the Peace Corps over there? Go ahead. Hamas is stealing up to 70% of all food and fuel that's coming into Gaza.
Total lie. Total fucking lie. There's 30,000 Hamas members. There's 2.3 million people in Gaza. The idea Hamas is hoarding all of it, that's just not true. But this is all they have. All they have is, we're Hamas! You say anything. Hamas! Hamas! It's not working anymore. It's not working, Mark. Lower your fucking voice, you freak.
He knows that. We all know it. Then they're selling what they leave over at some exorbitant price to their own citizens.
So do you understand? The problem is Palestinians price gouging other Palestinians. The problem is not the medieval siege that Israel imposed on all of Gaza to punish 2.3 million people for the actions of Hamas. The problem is not Israel cutting off the food, the fuel, the water, the electricity. The problem is that the Palestinians who have goods are overcharging other Palestinians.
They're firing artillery into their own hospitals. They're killing their own citizens.
They're firing artillery into their own hospitals. You know what he's referring to? The first time that there was a hospital that was attacked, very high-profile incident, there was a debate going on. Was it a misfired Palestinian rocket, or was it Israel doing it? That was the debate that was going on. And then, since then, we've had, look right here, 301 healthcare facilities have been hit, including 29 hospitals, 69 clinics, and 203 ambulances. And he says they're hitting their own hospitals. Even if I grant you that first one was a misfired Palestinian rocket, which I don't at all, what about the other 28 hospitals that were hit? What about the planned demolition of schools? What about the assassination campaign around the Al-Shifa hospital complex where 13 children were deliberately targeted? God, he's just a liar. He's just a fucking liar.
Biden doesn't mention this once, and he continues to use Throughout the day, throughout the weeks, the lies from the Hamas terrorists about the number of civilians that are killed, no matter how many statisticians and experts tell him he's wrong, he doesn't care.
There are no statisticians and experts telling Biden that he's wrong about the number of Palestinian casualties. The UN, every other human rights organization has it at about 30,000. That's what Biden says. He's not wrong. If anything, that number's a low count. I just showed you the Euromed Monitor numbers. They have a higher death number because they include the people who've been under the rubble for weeks as dead. Look, it drives me crazy that here we have a situation where Biden is aiding and abetting a genocide. That's what he's doing. He's aiding and abetting a genocide. He's funding Israel. He's looking the other way as they do all these war crimes. Then he does this PR offensive where he wags his finger and says, I don't agree with all those kids you carpet bombed. And he's trying to dupe people into thinking, I'm not okay with what they're doing. No, if you really weren't okay with it, you cut off the weapons immediately and sanction them. That's what you would do. But you're not doing that. So you are okay with it. That's the real problem. What does Mark Levin come out and say? The problem is that Joe Biden is now pro-Hamas and anti-Israel. How are you supposed to have a reasonable political debate with people like this? It's literally not possible. The guy's just a genocidal freak. So not only does he want Biden to arm and fund the genocide, not only does he want that, he also wants him to cheerlead Israel as they, on a daily basis, carpet bomb children and women. That's what he wants. He wants them to say, hooray, as they attack all vital infrastructure, as they bomb schools and hospitals and mosques and churches and marketplaces and factories and homes. And that's what he wants. Disgusting, vile human being. The fact that this is allowed on corporate media, but if somebody were to go on any of these outlets and say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, there'd be an outrage. There'd be an outcry. There'd be outrage. And they would say, fire that person. But this guy can do his little fucking genocidal screed, and nobody bats an eyelash. This is the only place you're hearing about it, I'm sure. Loathsome and deplorable. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.